the ship that cannot sink, or humanity's pride on the sea. These were the exact beautiful phrases that people of the time used to describe the Titanic. However, man proposes, but God disposes. On April 15, 1912, on its maiden and only voyage, the Titanic sank forever to the bottom of the sea, sending shockwaves throughout the world. The Maritime disaster was a knockout blow to the global shipping industry. It was widely believed at the time that Titanic was the largest and most modern ship ever created by mankind. In today's video, let's turn back time and discover what truly happened to this great maritime symbol. In fact, after 100 years of investigation, authorities and many marine scientists have almost been able to clearly identify what really happened in the North Atlantic at that time. Based on witnesses and the debris left after the disaster, it is believed that Titanic struck a gigantic iceberg. However, many people still wonder why such a tragedy could happen with a modern ship like Titanic, and with many experienced sailors aboard. In reality, although maritime technology more than 100 years ago could not compare to today's modern maritime equipment, Titanic, as the most advanced ship of the time, was fully equipped to at least detect a large obstacle like that. So what really happened? The first thing we need to mention is the weather in the North Atlantic at the time, which made Titanic's voyage particularly difficult. According to many climate scientists, when Titanic encountered the accident, the seas it was sailing through had many icebergs, and by coincidence, the location where the ship met its disaster was the intersection of several ocean currents. Therefore, encountering a massive iceberg was extremely likely. Agreeing with this viewpoint, Dr. Richard Norris from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography in the US said, "The North Atlantic at that time suddenly saw many icebergs due to the particular climatic conditions. Furthermore, the activity of unusual ocean currents caused the icebergs to grow significantly in size. If not for this unexpected factor, I believe it would have been difficult for such a large iceberg to destroy Titanic." Despite encountering such unfavorable conditions, according to many historical records, passengers and even the crew on board were aware of the danger and accepted the voyage. They believed that the modernity of Titanic would make these difficulties insignificant. This is exactly one of the major reasons why Titanic sank forever to the depths of the sea. After the disaster occurred, many witnesses, including passengers on the ship, reported that Titanic was traveling at a very high speed. At that time, it was known that the Pride of the Holland and Wolff Company was moving almost at maximum speed, about 22 knots per hour, or 41 kilometers per hour. It is believed that if Captain Edward J. Smith had not ordered the ship to travel at such speed, the 1912 tragedy likely would not have occurred. At that speed, Titanic's ability to alter its course to avoid obstacles was almost zero. Another detail that later made Captain Edward J. Smith and his crew widely mentioned as one of the main causes of the disaster is that he ignored many danger warnings sent to Titanic via radio signals from the ship America at around 11 a.m. that day. It is known that the radio operator on Titanic at the time, Jack Phillips, did not pay attention to the warning because he was busy handling commercial messages. Later, Jack Phillips relayed the America's warning to the captain. However, both Captain Edward J. Smith and the ship's officers dismissed it. Additionally, people believe that had they detected the iceberg earlier, Titanic could have continued its journey for many more years. However, later reports show that the observation equipment on Titanic was not used by the crew at that time. The incident occurred because David B.L., who was initially assigned as the second senior officer for the transatlantic voyage to New York on Titanic, had been reassigned to another ship. Unfortunately, this man forgot to hand over the key to the binoculars storage to his replacement. Some historians believe that if this negligence had not occurred, the lookouts might have detected the iceberg earlier, and if that had happened, the fate of over 1,500 passengers could have been different. One of the factors contributing to the Titanic disaster was the inadequacy in the design and structure of the ship. It was noticed that the ship's smokestack did not perform as expected when the ship encountered the incident. Although Titanic was designed with compartments capable of being watertight to prevent sinking, These compartments could not keep the ship afloat in the event of severe damage. Another serious issue was the insufficient number of lifeboats. Titanic only carried enough lifeboats for about 1,178 people, while the number of passengers and crew exceeded 2,200. The ship's design overlooked the need for enough lifeboats for everyone because the designers believed that Titanic could not sink, leading them to not consider the worst-case scenario. As a result, in the emergency situation, thousands of people did not have a chance to survive. When talking about the consequences of the Titanic shipwreck, the greatest regret was, according to official reports from the responsible agencies, over 1,500 passengers and crew members lost their lives. Among the passengers were many people from the upper class of society at the time, causing immense grief for those who survived. After the Titanic disaster, local authorities in many countries issued numerous maritime safety regulations. Notably, the Safety of Life at Sea Treaty was established in 1914, requiring that all passenger ships must be equipped with lifeboats sufficient to accommodate all passengers and crew. Additionally, safety equipment, rescue supplies, and emergency provisions were emphasized and adhered to by later ships. Maritime routes in the North Atlantic were also closely monitored with the establishment of the International Ice Patrol to observe and warn of the risks posed by icebergs. The greatest pain after the tragedy occurred undoubtedly fell on those left behind. It is known that after Titanic sank, survivors and the families of those who were on board filed lawsuits against the involved companies, particularly White Star, the owner of Titanic. These accusations sparked intense debates in society, creating a stir in the global public at the time. Court hearings took place in both the US and the UK, with hundreds of witnesses providing testimonies. Survivors detailed the chaos of the disaster night, accusing the ship's management of negligence. Many victim families demanded financial compensation for their losses, leading to a series of major civil lawsuits. This litigation not only pressured changes in maritime law systems, but also caused upheaval in contemporary society. The world press at the time fully exploited the tragic story and the public outrage. Many years after the disaster, Titanic and the shipwreck event continued to influence popular culture globally. Numerous works of art were created to memorialize the event. Many books and films were inspired by Titanic, notably the film of the same name, directed by James Cameron, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. This film was widely regarded by critics as one of the greatest films of all time. With his genius, James Cameron not only succeeded in creating the dream love story between Jack and Rose, but also shocked the world with his extremely realistic depiction of the horrific 1912 disaster. In addition to the 1997 film, the book A Night to Remember by Walter Lord and the song My Heart Will Go On by Celine Dion are also successful works inspired by Titanic. Furthermore, after sinking deep into the vast ocean, Titanic has become an intriguing cultural symbol of mankind. When looking at Titanic, we see the human spirit of conquering nature. Titanic is seen as a symbol of technological development and progress in the early 20th century, but also a great regret for humanity. Many years later, this disaster not only claimed thousands of lives, but also served as a lesson on the importance of thorough preparation and respecting safety regulations in all fields. The events surrounding Titanic have left a deep mark on culture, art, and the maritime industry, making it an inseparable part of history, despite having occurred so long ago. However, Titanic's story continues to live on, not only as a tragedy, but as a reminder of the importance of safeguarding human life and never underestimating the harshness of nature.